Okay, we're good. All right. Grateful for another opportunity to share. As I was kind of preparing for this, of course, I had plenty of time to prepare again, but just seems like the whole world decides to do things that make it a challenge, right? And so you realize life is a challenge. And it's what we do with that challenge. And so do we face it? Do we go after it? Do we press in? Do we desire to want to move forward? Is that something that we even have the mental to do, or do we kind of go, it's hard? And so I think as you begin to walk through some of your journey with Him, that's a growing process. It's not something that just happens because it happens. It's something that is built, and He builds it in you. And so I wanted to share a little bit with you. Last time I shared quite a bit of what I would call my testimony, my family's testimony, what we've been through, kind of our journey, what we walked through. And you got to get to know me. And some of you know me quite well, some of you a little bit, but you got to see a little bit of who Jeb and the Anderson family is. And was grateful for that opportunity. And I wanted to say my point in sharing that was not in any way, shape, or form to say, pat on my back. It was specifically to give glory to Him because of what He has done, because of the work He has done in my life. And when I say mine, I'm talking about my family, because we're one. It's the realization and the reality that while I have not done many things proper, I continue to get back up. And I continue to press after Him. And I continue to realize He's right there. And He's with me all along the way. And so one of the things we talked about last time in the topic that I said, even though we didn't really get much into covenant and covenant relationship, it was sharing my testimony of this is kind of my relationship and what I've been through. And so here this is kind of a joke, but here's the 13 pages that I had last time that I didn't use, and I'm not using them this time. Because throughout the last couple weeks and preparing for this, God just refines stuff, and He adjusts it, and He shows you, this is what's for this time. This is what's for this season. This is what's for this moment. And so you try and be sensitive to that. You try and hear, and you try and go, okay, what are you showing me? What are you teaching me? What are you leading me down this path for? And so, as I said last time, when I began to look into, not that I've never looked into it before, but when I really began to dive into covenant relationship, it started with the word relationship. And I realized you can't have that without covenant. And that our God is not a God that has relationship without covenant. It's that covenant is who He is, and that's how He functions. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I need to change my way of thinking instead of thinking that He should do it my way, Let's get the right process put in play so that I see how He sees, so I can understand how He functions, because that helps me to understand and be able to relate to Him in a new way, and in a better way, and in a proper way, because ultimately He's the Creator, right? And so if I'm trying to relate to my Creator, the more I know who He is, and the more I know how He functions, and the more I see what He is and how He is, obviously my chances of being able to communicate, have relationship with Him are going to be far greater. If that's the desire of my heart, if that's what I want, right? You have friends and family or whatever that each one of them's individual, right? Each one of them has their own personalities. Each one of them has their own certain ways they function. They have all kinds of this stuff that you see differences in family, in people, in friends, sometimes challenging, sometimes beautiful. Many times that's all on our perspective and what we like and what we don't like, right? But within that, you realize this person functions this way. And you say, okay, so in order to relate to that person, you tend to understand they're going to relate like this. So you learn how to function in a way to be able to relate to them, right? That's kind of, if we're trying to relate to people, that would be a pretty make sense way to do that, right? So why is it any different with him? Why have we decided in so many ways that we want him to do it our way? Why do we not have it? We would do anything to do it your way. We want to follow in your steps. We want to follow in the way that you relate. We want to understand how you connect, how you want to have relationship. And guess what? That really includes us. There's a really big open door for us to engage in that. It's not, I think at times we have this mentality of him being a do this, do this, do this, do this. While he gives us commands, while he gives us outlines, and while he gives us those things, does he force any of us to do that? Has he ever forced anyone to do that? Or has it always been our choice? Will it always be our choice? I believe it will. And so, while he made creation, while he made us in order with a desire to say, I want relationship. I want to commune with you. I want to spend life with you. I want to have somebody to talk to. I want you to enjoy my mountains. I want you to do miracles. I want you to engage in the process with me. That's always been his desire. He didn't want to do it alone. He wants to do it with us, right? He is extremely passionate about that. That is just something that that's all he wants. That's why he made us. Let's do this together. Do we feel that way sometimes, or do we kind of feel like, oh, this is hard. I don't like this. This is not enjoyable. This is a challenge. I don't want to do this. And it becomes really tough because there's an element that I think we have a perspective that's not always the best because it's short term. We're looking at the 60, 80, 90, some 100 years that we're going to be on the planet, right? He doesn't look at it that way. He looks at everything eternally. And we need to get our mind switched from looking at things in such short, small little doses of this lifetime on planet Earth, even though this is really important. This is a really big deal what we're doing down here. But you have to have an eternal perspective. You have to be looking for, there's purpose now, but there's purpose eternally. And so, now that I've said that, I'm going to go back to kind of getting back on my list here. So, I want to share something to start off with. I'm going to do a little better job, that's my hope, of trying to go through this, not to be all following a page, but there's some really neat things that he shared with me I don't want to miss. So this is a stretch for me because usually I just talk. I'm a good talker, but I'm going to try and do something that is, this is better. This is something I feel like I'm supposed to do. So that's kind of my intro. So one of the topics I have here is, okay, what is the difference between covenant and testament? Okay, and I know some of this has been taught here before, and I know there's a lot that we all have a lot of different knowledge of, but I just want to go over some things and share some stuff for a little bit. So we have what has been put in what the translation has been for a lot of years is, okay, you have your Old Testament and your New Testament, right? That's been the teaching for a long time. Not the best translation, right? Because if we understand covenant, covenant is not something that is, okay, you had it for a moment and now it passes away because we have a new one. Okay? So a testament is something that, yes, the very latest testament would supersede all the other things that were written. Okay? And we certainly know that by last will and testament, right? Of when somebody passes or when somebody's done here on this life, that's what they leave behind, right? Here's what's done. And even if there were other copies, I'm sure Jack would know the legalities of this more than I do, but even if there's other copies and things that have been in the past, usually those, if done properly, the last one would be the authority over all of it. Right? That's kind of what our understanding would be. Okay. Is that how a covenant works? Okay, we know that, right? What does a covenant do? A covenant builds upon itself, right? It starts here, and then it's added to, and it's added to, and it's added to. And so you don't have a spot where you see, okay, this is disregarded, and now we do this. It's added. It's line upon line. Okay, precept upon precept. It's a building thing. And so you think to yourself, okay, so what's the point of covenant? What's the very reason for why this covenant exists? Because he wanted a relationship with us. And as I said in the very beginning, what happened to the relationship? We all know at Adam and Eve, right? Was he forcing them to do the right thing? No, he just said, don't do this. And then they had their choice. Now, I don't know if any of us here would have gotten an A+ in that choice either, okay? So we like to say, looking back, that it was like, oh man, I wouldn't have done that. It's like, I don't know, we've all made enough mistakes that I think maybe there's some grounds there that we may have screwed up too. So I don't think we really have a place to sit here and go, I wouldn't have done that. But what happened there was what? Adam and Eve went from a relationship that was beautiful, a marriage relationship, the fullness of what covenant means. They went from there to a place of separation. And so, from that point, do you think God was scared? Do you think he was afraid? Do you think he's going, oh my gosh, they did something I didn't think they were going to do. Now what do we do? No, he knew exactly the plan. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew exactly the opportunity that each one of us sitting in this room today have had in our lives to go, you're my king. I've screwed up big time. I don't stand on my righteousness. I stand on your righteousness, because otherwise I'm really hopeless. Right? Okay. He knew that far before that. Okay. He's not wound up, or what's the right word? He's not scared of what we do. We get scared of what we do, but he's not scared of what we do. He's aware of it. He knows what's going on, but he's not afraid of it. Our God's not afraid. He's not small. He's not low. He's high. And I think we forget that sometimes when we're going through challenges, when we're going through situations, we somehow have the ability to bring him lower. We don't actually bring him lower, but in our perspective, we bring him lower. But is there something in us that is saying, it's time to put you back on your throne right here? There's areas in our lives where there's things that there's things that we've done that have just kind of taken him down a little lower. But he's not. He's most high. He's the king of the universe. He's creator of all things. He's not low. He's not afraid. He's not discouraged. He's not in doubt. He's not worried. But all those things that I just talked about are certainly challenges that we all have, right? Stuff that we struggle in, day out, because where do we live? We live in kind of a time and a season that it ain't easy. And we live in a nation that has went from a peak to down to it's going downward in some ways. So it's a challenge, right? Because we're free, but yet, wow, what are we? And so my encouragement in saying all this right now is just to open up kind of the concept of where is he that he needs to be put back on high in your life? Is there areas that he's bringing to attention? So as we talk, as we share this morning, is there spots and places where he's going, okay, let's make an adjustment here? And it doesn't mean that that's going to be a finger snap, okay? It's a walk. It's a journey. And he's not afraid of it. Okay, so a testament is a final thing. A covenant is line upon line. It's again and again and again. So we see, I'm going to turn to Acts chapter 3, verse 25. As you notice, I got a lot of labels on here, so we'll see how we do. Okay, chapter 3, verse 25. I'm just using this as a awareness. I have a phone. Okay. I wanted to read this because a lot of the versions that I'm sure many of you use currently may have like a messianic type wording or whatever, so they've made some adjustments in there. But if you go back to I'll just say the King James Version, okay, which is something that many, I don't have one, so I'm doing it on my phone. Okay, so verse 25, it says, "You are the children of the prophets and of the covenant of which God made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, and in thy seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed." So we have the word here in 325, and it's the word, they use the word covenant. So the Greek word for that is, I'm probably going to mess this up, but it's diatheka or something is the best that I'm going to pronounce it. And so we see there that they use the word covenant. Okay, now we switch over and we're going to go to Matthew 26:28. Oh, I'm still in the King James, sorry. Okay, verse 28. It says, "For this is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins." Same word, that diatheka word. So they're using the same word, but they're actually trying to change what they're trying to mean in that. Do you see how that happened? You see that being pronounced there. And it's all through the New Testament where they use that word, that Greek word diatheka, and I'm probably not saying that well, but they use it, they'll use it as covenant sometimes, and they use it as testament sometimes. They use it as covenant sometimes, and they use it as testament sometimes. To bring us into that thinking that somehow this testament has been what has been the new order. That there was an Old Testament and that there's a New Testament. And that there's somehow a shift to what that is. So when we read and we're going through this, we're thinking to ourselves, okay, so this is testament. This is, and I would say from our culture, we're more testament thinking than covenant thinking. Would you agree? That's kind of how we think. We're, okay, yep, law here, yep, this is how it functions. Our culture doesn't think like covenant. That's just not how we think. Even though we here are learning much in that and growing in what that means, how it's a part of our lives, how those things are here, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have fully transformed our perspective to what that time was and who God is and how He functions in that. So in Matthew, obviously it uses that word. So I'm not going to get in an argument of testament and covenant. I just wanted to make you aware that this is part of the challenge that we face. Okay, we face this attempt to try and remove covenant and replace it with testament. Well, what does that do? It removes everything that was. It removes all that has been said. It removes all that has been promised. It removes all that is from the past. So you're saying that those things are no longer relevant. Those things are no longer, they don't matter anymore. Because this in testament is the one that matters. Obviously, we know that's not true. Thank God that's not true. Thank God that He does not function that way. Thank God that He is a God that lasts and remains. What His promises are, remain. Okay. Let's see here. So do you think, I guess, in this, do you think that His attempt only began to happen of restoration at the new covenant? Is that where it began? Or did it begin, as we talked in the beginning, back at the beginning? Yeah, it started back in the beginning, right? So this isn't something that just was a concept that all of a sudden started 2,000 years ago. Something that started in the beginning. And I honestly think it's just who God is, and it's how He functions. So then we read, if we can all turn to Jeremiah, or if you'd like, turn to Jeremiah 31:31. We all know this, but I want to read it because it's important. Here, okay, I'll start. Here, the days are coming, says Adonai, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their fathers on the day I took them by their hand and brought them out of the land of Egypt, because they, for their part, violated my covenant, even though I, for my part, was a husband to them, says Adonai. For this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Adonai. I will put my Torah within them and write it on their hearts. I'll pause for a moment and let you understand what's happened to you. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will any of them teach his fellow community member or his brother, know Adonai. For all will know me, from the least of them to the greatest, because I will forgive their wickedness and remember their sin no more. So that very thing directly goes to what Matthew 26:28 was talking about. This is what he's relating. This is the new covenant, renewed covenant. Covenant is the proper way to say it. It's an addition. It's an adding to. It's a line upon, okay? So it's not something that the rest doesn't exist, and now this is. It's something that is a fulfillment. It's a promise that has been fulfilled. I want to continue on. I'll read this real quick before I move on, but it says, "This is what Adonai says, who gives the sun as light for day, who ordained the laws of the moon and the stars to provide light for the night, who stirs up the sea until its waves roar. Adonai Savaot is his name. If these laws leave my presence, says Adonai, then the offspring of Israel will stop being a nation in my presence forever. This is what Adonai says. If the sky above can be measured and the foundations of the earth fathomed, then I will reject all the offspring of Israel and all that they have done, says Adonai." As far as I know, that hasn't happened. And is that not a powerful promise? Is that not something that we can hold strong to? Is that not something that we can grab a hold of to go, the sun still came up this morning, so the covenant remains. The moon came out, the stars came out. No one can fathom the foundations of the earth, okay? There's many that are trying. There's a lot that are trying to understand the fullness of what he is, but they have just a glimpse. So the covenant remains. It doesn't go away. So can we stand confident in that? Can we stand sure in that? Yes, we can. Hey, turn the page. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go over some covenant types. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I know you guys know this, but I think it's part of what needs to be. It's part of the story here. So, first type of covenant, we have blood, salt, sandal, and marriage. Right? We all have heard this many times. As much as I could say we've heard it many times, I still think we don't all fully understand it. I don't think we really know exactly how to apply all of that. I think it's a learning experience. I think it's something that we grow into. I think it's something that's built. I think it's something that we've become aware of. And so as I was walking through some of this study that he's been teaching me, I was like, wow. So many things that he's showing me, and I'm going, how do I express? And he's like, no, this is for you, and it's for them. This part's for you, this part's for them. So I did my best to do that, to try and keep it in a place that was presentable, not because of any other reason than for me to be able to present it in where I'm at, where I stand, and what I know and understand at this time. Not to get out of my lane, okay? But I want to stay in my lane. So we have first type, which is blood. So as we talked a little bit ago, I say as we talked a little bit ago, but I guess I'm the one talking. So as I talked a little bit ago, we see this blood covenant begin right off the get-go. We see this in Genesis. We see that, okay, Adam and Eve, they screwed up. They made a mistake. So what does God do? Right, I don't know who said that, but yeah, he shed blood to cover them, right? He made skins for them. Well, the skins didn't just come out of the sky. Okay, something had to die. Blood had to be shed. So it's our first real representation of that blood covenant. Now, obviously, we all know who our Messiah is, right? And we know what he's done for us. There's no question that blood was shed for us, right? We see that towards us. We see that in We see the representation here in Genesis, but we see the reality 2,000 years ago. And that it was shed for us. So what's our part in the deal? It's just, hey, you did a good job, so I'm along for the ride. Cool, thank you. Or is there a partnership within a covenant? Well, yes, it's a free gift. Well, yes, it's something that we can't earn. It's not something that we can, okay, because we're so good, we're going to get it. But there's a call back to us to say, so what are you now? And so blood covenant represents servanthood, right? So we have an element of serving that is required, right? We are to serve. We are to do what we need to do. We are to do what He's asking us to do. We are to engage. We are to express what has been done. We're serving. We're to love others. We're to love ourselves. We're supposed to do a lot of loving, right? Because why? What's the greatest thing? That someone lay down their life for you, for a friend. Well, did somebody do that? Was that easy? I don't think that was easy. If you understand the science behind blood coming out through the skin, I think you would realize the grief, the turmoil, the stress, the challenge that he was going through. It was not easy. So we see that he laid down his life for us, and he's saying, okay, to do what? So we can have a relationship. He wants to start a relationship. And as he did back in Genesis, he said, okay, Adam and Eve, we're going to start things over. He didn't say, okay, all right, you get to start back over at marriage, did he? He started off back with blood, and he said, okay, we start here. And we begin a relationship. And I think sometimes we have a perspective of being a servant as a negative thing. Would you think that that's part of our culture, is that to serve is negative? And more that everyone should serve us, and that the goal is to be up here and have everybody serve you, and not to be the one that actually serves? But is that right? No, absolutely not. We were made to serve. And it should be a joy to serve. It should be an honor to serve. It should be a great privilege to serve. But do we feel that way? Maybe some things, yes. Maybe some things, not so much. Maybe some areas we're good at that, and some areas, whoo, we're pretty heavily opposed. But that's the call, right? And we see the example in our Messiah of, was there anything he was unwilling to do to serve? Besides anything unrighteous? But righteously, was there anything he was unwilling to do for us? No, he went to the point of shedding blood and dying. And he lived his whole life flawlessly, or he could not be the covering. He had to be spotless, blameless. And so the grave could not hold him, right? So there's an element that Paul talks about of daily dying, okay? And that's part of that servanthood, is to, hey, how many have ambitions in here of things I want to do? I want to be this. I want to be great. Probably as we get a little older, those get a little refined, mostly because if you're not 20, you can't do what a 20-year-old did. But you're full of all kinds of desire. You're full of, hey, I want to do this. I want to be woo-hoo, right? And he's going, okay. But within all of that, I got a plan. And I created you with purpose. I created you with, this is what you were meant to be. And so you go, okay, how's that work with all these things I want to do? And you work that out, right? But some of that you got to die to. Right? I mean, how many agree? We got to die to some things. Is that a struggle? Oh, yeah, it's a struggle, man. And especially, again, we live in America, where everything is available, and the American dream is whatever you want, go after it, right? So is there an element of death that has to happen and go, okay, I want to be aligned with you? Because in that alignment with Him, in that willingness to die daily, what happens? Fulfillment. You can achieve all kinds of stuff. You can be great in so many things. But if it's not the intended purpose, you'll still be empty. And that's not who He is. He's not empty. He's full. And so when you allow Him to refine those dreams, when you allow Him to get involved and engaged with your purpose, with why you are what you are, why He created you, and the beauty that is in that, all of a sudden, some holes get filled up. Some emptiness goes away. So this is the beginning stages, right, of servanthood, of learning, what am I? What's my purpose? Well, first off, you're a child of God, right? And you were made in the image of Most High. We can't lose sight of what we are. That's what we are. Our identity is not our job. Our identity is not in our skill sets. Our identity is not in those things. Our identity is, I am a child of God, created in the image of God, designed to have relationship with Him. I may be a dad. I may be a construction worker. I may be those other things. But that is not my identity. Those are pieces of who I am. First and foremost, I'm His. And I'm a child of His, and I can stand on that. Right? Because what happens to a 30-year-old in the NFL? They're looking at their last days. Right? Any NFL player that makes it to their 40s, that's rare. Of great accomplishment. I'm not saying that you should never play in the NFL. I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying the reality is something shifts. And you go, okay, now what am I? Because my whole life was wrapped up into I'm this. Is it? Is that what you are? So when that's shaken, when that goes away, what are you? You're empty. Now, if the opposite is true, that my life and everything about me and all of who I am is, I am a child of God, I'm made in the image of God and created to do works, and for some reason He goes, you know what? You should be in the NFL. Then when the NFL's over, what happens? It's okay, because I'm still a child of God, created in the image of God, made to do works. That was some of my works. That was a representation in a very big platform. Beautiful, right? It's all about how that is and what that looks like and putting those pieces together. So there's an element of serving within that we have to die to ourselves. We have to move into a place, find out what He has for us, and move forward, right? And so what's the next level or next? What's the next covenant? The next covenant would be salt, friendship. right? Who wants to be a friend of God? Yeah. Why would we not, right? That's like a huge goal. I want to be a friend of God. I want him to call me friend. That's when I really, whoo, right? When he told Abraham, he's my friend, I'm going to let him know what goes on. When he was talking to the apostles and he said, you're my friends. I let you know what's going on. I share what's going on. This is friendship. Hot dog, that's beautiful. We're excited, right? We're hungry for that. It's something that's like, man, I want that. Okay, so when we become friends, do we stop serving? No, actually, in some ways, maybe it increases a little bit, right? Because as you get to know what he wants, you're like, oh, I should do that. Oh, you want me to do? Oh, okay, you're talking to me more. All of a sudden, I got lots of things to do. So do we stop dying? Do we stop serving? No, it increases. But yet there's a friendship that goes there that's like, oh, I absolutely do this all day long. This is beautiful, thank you. Thank you because I have a relationship with you. How many have friendships with people that's like, man, this is great, I enjoy this. But there's an element of serving that goes along with it if it's a healthy relationship, right? Both sides have to serve each other. If you don't serve each other, it becomes a really lopsided friendship, right? So, are we serving each other? Is that what that relationship is? Absolutely. It doesn't go away. And that friendship is there. It's certainly there. Okay? So one of the things about friendship, and in the culture, the Hebrew culture, Jewish culture back in that day, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but they used to always carry a pouch of salt. That was a very common practice for especially men to carry a pouch of salt. And so when they wanted to make a friendship with somebody, this was no small thing, okay? You didn't just call a guy friend casually. It meant something. There's a covenant that goes along with friendship. And so what they'd do is they'd all come together. If it was 2, 3, 4, whatever, they'd take their salt and they'd pour it all in like a bowl or like a tray together. And then they'd have bread. They'd dip it in the salt and eat their bread. They'd enjoy that. Afterwards, they would divide the salt back up, not separate, but divide it up, and everybody put salt back in their pouches. With the understanding that if you can separate all the salt back out, then you can end that friendship. Good luck, right? It'd be kind of fun to try sometime. Just, hey, can you use pink salt? I'll use white salt, okay? It's kind of the only chance you'd have. But we understand that relationship, right? So let's move on to the next one, which would be sandal, which is inheritance. Oh, I didn't even put my glasses on. Cool. So the next level of inheritance would be, the next level of covenant would be inheritance. So what is inheritance? So obviously we think inheritance and we're like, okay, mom, dad pass. I get the house, I get the boat, I get the car. I also get all their stuff in storage.
Son or daughtership.
Thank you. So that's kind of how, that's kind of some of how we look at it, right? And we look at it, and sometimes that's like, hey, we got a big thing coming, but We're talking about kingdom inheritance here. So is there a physical involved? Sure. Do we not know about the land that is given, that is designated? That's a physical land. And it may be a restored land, and it may be a renewed thing that comes down, but it's like, this, it's physical. There is a physical element of inheritance that is there. But is it also job, purpose, what you're going to do after we're done here? I kind of think so. I kind of think it has to do with having a part in the kingdom. That's kind of a big deal. I mean, I think it's a big deal. I don't know. Do you guys think it's a big deal? Do we want that? Yeah. I mean, you give me a little piece, and I can be in the, yeah. I'd like to have a big piece, but hey, I just want a piece. I want to be involved. I want to be engaged. I want to have weight. Not in a pride standpoint, not in trying to want to be something. It's not that. It's I want him to go, well done. Look at your inheritance. This is what you do. This is who you are. This is what you have. Because of the decisions you made, because of the choices you made, because of the way you lived your life. As Rabbi John's been talking to him in Revelation, it's like, I hope it's not. I don't want to have a bunch of burned up stuff and I just make it. I want to have weight. Well, to have weight, does that not require that we have weight here? Do we not have to be engaged here? Do we not have to be involved here? Do we not have to be responsible here? Are we just gonna, he's going to go, okay, you did a lousy job here, but I'm going to somehow put you in some high position over here. I don't think so. And I don't know that he would say that in that way. That was me. But you understand what I mean. He's going, what you do, we're going to work through that. And the repercussions of that is your reward. So am I wanting all my rewards here? Am I wanting all my rewards in this life? Or do I go back to that eternal perspective that it's like, no, this is for eternity. This is for after this. This is my training grounds. This is my prep grounds. This is my preparation. So why would he give me something that I'm not going to take care of? If I don't show myself responsible here, if I don't show myself a good steward here, why in the world would he go, yeah, you're ready for this? Because we're not. So I have to show responsible here. I have to show stewardship here. I have to show that I'm doing all these other things and serving and being a friend and all of those things. This is another level. Do we want that? Because it comes with a challenge. It's not easy. And so when we go back to how I ended our last teaching of my yoke is easy and my burden is light, when I was looking into that, I was like, this is not easy. This is super hard. But what he's saying is, I give you adequate supply for a path of goodness and to accomplish what I built you for. So it's not that it's like, easy, yeah, I got this. No, it's, I give you what you need to accomplish what you were made for. To bring you into what I have in store for you. My plans for you. My purposes for you. So there's a major stewardship that is required, right? Along with all the others, and that's what going back to this, so it's a building upon. It's on top of each other. So it's, you start here and you add this one and you add this one. It's building. It's not something that is old one surpasses the new one, or that when this one's done, or when I started this one goes away. They all remain. And the full culmination of that is marriage. That's the picture, right? Is marriage. It's all of those things coming together in their fullness and being expressed in a beautiful display, where all of that is functioning, where all of that is working, where all of that is flowing. It's a beautiful relationship. So I want to take a few minutes and go to Genesis chapter 12. So I'm going to share a little bit about Abraham, because I want to use him as an example, because he's a beautiful example of covenant. So, chapter 12, verse 1. Now Adonai said to Abraham, "Get yourself out of your country, away from your kinsmen, and away from your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you." So I looked up the word get. I was like, oh, okay, what's get? Okay. So, again, my pronunciation of these words, I need help, but I'm going to throw it out there. Yalak is what, if Kevin was here inside, he would help me with this, but he's not. So maybe some of you know, but that's what I'm reading it as. So do you know what that means? It simply means to go, to walk. How many of us are willing to just go and walk? If he gives us a simple instruction, how many times we're like, oh, what about this? And, well, is there going to be somebody there when I get there? Or do you want me to take my car? Do you want me to take my truck? Am I supposed to run? What? You want all the details. He's going, just step. Just move. I can direct you along the way. What did he say in Deuteronomy? Go. He told Moses, go, and I will teach you along the way. Are we willing to have that kind of faith where we just go? Or do usually we want to know all the details and all the functions and all the things? Yeah, we usually do. And sometimes he gives that. I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying he's unwilling. I'm not saying it's wrong to ask. But I'm asking the simple question, if that's all he says, would you be willing? Is he up there? Is he placed on that position? Or you're like, oh, you told me to go, I'll go. So obviously we see there's great reason for him to want to have covenant and a relationship with Abraham. Because what did Abraham do? He went. From what you see, sounds like he probably was a pretty well-off man, had some inheritance, had a decent life, if you want to say. He's going, go. So he left. He took his nephew, he took all the men and women that were with him, that were under him, and they went. And he trusted God, and he went. And he heads out, and he goes to, he was 75 when he went out. Yeah, 75. Now, obviously, he lived quite a while, so 75, I'm sure he was pretty spry, and they probably walked a lot, so he was probably in good shape. He's not like us to get in our car and go everywhere. He walks everywhere, so they were probably pretty healthy. So he went, and he left what he knew of home. And so we see a really big step in this beginning relationship that he has with Abraham, and the first thing is just go. And he obeys. He does. So where does he go? He goes to Baal, or actually he goes to sets up his tent between there and Ai. And he goes there. And what's he do? He calls on the name of his God. So he wasn't trying to go there and make it by himself. He wasn't trying to do it and say, okay, you told me to go, so I got it figured out. Here's my plan. He went, I'm going. I get somewhere. And now I go back to the source that told me to go and ask for more direction. Ask for more instruction. So what does God tell him? He says, well, let's read it. Give me a second. Whoa, I turned some pages while I wasn't paying attention. Chapter 12, verse 6. Abram passed through the land to a place called Shechem, to the oak of Moreh, whatever. The Canaanites were in the land. Adonai appeared to Abram and said, to your descendants I will give this land. So he built an altar there to Adonai, who had appeared to him. So God's telling him to go. And through the process, he goes, this is what I'm going to give you. If he said that to you, I think I might be a little twitched out. That is a huge responsibility that he's saying he is going to put upon Abraham. A huge weight. And he's letting him know what's going on. Abraham's quite a man to be able to hear that and go, okay, I'm going. So later on, there is a famine, right? So Abraham goes down to Egypt and kind of gets away from the famine. He travels down there. Obviously, we know about the story of just a second. Yeah, we know the story about his wife, right? So Sarai still, she's still not Sarah yet. Yeah, she's beautiful, so let's do the sister thing. She's my sister, don't kill me, that type of thing, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say that Abraham did something that he was challenged. He was walking through. How do I deal with this situation? God's telling me I'm going to inherit all this land. My ancestors are going to inherit all this land. How do I do this? Now I got to go down to Egypt. I'm a little nervous about going down to Egypt, okay? I'm not so sure this is going to be an easy thing. And my wife is beautiful. So obviously we don't fully understand the culture of what's going on here, but we're going, man, they're going to kill him because his wife's beautiful? So he made a decision. He did what he did, right? We continue on. He goes up from Egypt. Out of that, he becomes very wealthy, right? So him and Lot and the rest of them, they're getting out of there. And him and Lot have the challenge between the two of them, right? The challenge of, hey, my herd's big, your herd's big. We're fighting. This is frustrating. Your herdsmen and my herdsmen, we're not getting along. So Abraham's like, okay, you go whichever way you want to go. And I'll take the opposite. So they do. Lot sees this over here. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's prime land for having animals. I'll take that. Abraham's like, okay, I'll take this over here. Because I know, I have a faith. God's talked to me. I know what's ahead for me. I'm not going to go sit and go, I need the best piece, and I need this to be able to accomplish what God has. Instead, he goes, I'm going to trust God that he's going to do his part. I don't have to get so wound up in the detail of how he's going to do it. I need to start with faith. I need to start with trusting. I need to start with doing my part of going, I believe. So when Lot leaves, separates from him, what happens? God comes to him. Let me see where this... Chapter 13, verse 14. Adonai said to Abraham, after Lot had moved away from him, look all around you from where you are, to the north, to the south, to the east, and the west. All the land that you see I will give to your descendants forever, Olam. And I will make your descendants as numerous as the specks of dust on the earth, that if a person can count the specks of the dust on the earth, then your descendants can be counted. Get up and walk through the length and the breadth of the land, because I will give it to you. Abraham moved his tent and came to live by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron. There he built an altar to Adonai. Wow. Could you imagine when you go from a challenge where, do you think it was an easy thing, him and Lot dealing with this situation? Or do you think that was a struggle? That was hard. I'm imagining there's not a lot of detail here that says, oh, he said this about me, or I'm trying to do this, or he blocked my well, or he did this to my animal. We don't see that, but obviously, come on, they're humans. Things went on, right? So Abraham's walking through these years of challenges. He's walking out his faith. I have this promise that God is going to make something great out of me and my seed. But I'm dealing with animals, and who's getting the property here? How many can relate to that to some capacity? God shares different things with you. You're trying to get to that place. You're struggling. You're striving. But yet you got all these things coming that you're having to deal with. Do you think God had purpose in that? I figure so. I think it was a refining process. I think it was a teaching process. I think it was a testing process. All those things that we don't like to hear when God says that or is starting to do that to us. Like, whoo. Don't want that to happen. He went through it. Right? All part of his relationship with who? With God. All part of the story. He didn't get a special set of, you get all this and you don't have to deal with your life and what's going on around you. No, you absolutely have to deal with it. You absolutely have to walk it out. So it continues on. We know the story where Abraham, I know all of us know this really well. I was reading through this over the last couple of weeks again, and it is just beautiful. So if you have time, or better yet, please make time, read through the story and the journey of Abraham. Because when you see all the struggles, when you see all the challenges, when you see, a lot of times you would see, it was like Abraham would come against the challenge, and then Lot goes away, and then God goes, okay, here, let me remind you. Let me remind you of the promises that I have for you. Let me remind you, because this was challenging, and when challenging things happen, we tend to lose our perspective of who God is, and we get weak, and we're like, oh, why am I here? And then he goes, okay, this is why, remember? How many need a reminder today? Yeah. Why am I here? God, why am I here? if you give a cup of water in his name, is that not a reason to be here? Is he not going to remember that? Why does it always have to be such a grand gesture that we are some so significant thing that we want to be a patriarch, that we want to be this grand thing? Why can't it just be so simple as, I gave a cup of water? It can, and it should. It can be greater than that. There are times when it is. But if you look through the story of when Abraham left to when he actually had Isaac, he was 75 to 100. He was 99 or 100, I don't remember which, when Isaac comes along. That's a lot of years. And yes, there were some great things that happened, but you're talking about almost 25 years of walking it out. So do we sometimes lose focus and go, everything has to happen now? I want to see these big things. I want to see this huge thing. I want to see this monumental moment. I want to have this mountaintop, mountaintop, mountaintop. And he's going, no, I want you to learn how to walk. Go, have faith. I'll remind you. Come see me, ask me. I'll remind you. This is why you're here. This is what you are. This is who I made you to be. Turn left, you went right. Okay, we're going to circle back around because you went left. We got to get back on track here. Is he afraid of that? No, he's not afraid of that. You look at, okay, so Abraham and Sarah both, or Avram and Sarai, they hadn't got their new names yet. They decide, okay, let's grab the slave girl. Let's move on that because we need to give you a son, Abraham. We need to make this happen. Who's guilty of that? Whew, 2 hands. I know you promised me something. I know you said something to me, so I'm all in. And you're slow. I'll make it happen because I see a way. What usually comes out of that? Some trouble, some strife, maybe strife for a really long time. So there's an element of trusting and waiting to watch him develop it, to watch him bring it into play. So when Abraham is 99, what's God say? We're going to get circumcised. Do you know how old he was? If you circumcised most males at 99 right now, they would never make it through the procedure. That's with medical help. Obviously, times were different, but he wasn't young. And God says, okay, I want this to be a sign to you and your generations forever. Olam. I'm making covenant with you. Here's your end of the bargain. Here's the blood from you. But with that, what comes? Promise. What comes? Relationship. What comes? Obviously, we see great things because shortly after that, God appears to him and says, hey, you're going to have a son. What? What are they going to name him? Oh, laughter. I'm 99. I'm tired of laughing. And it's interesting that both of them laughed about the situation in parts of the story about being old. And, can God really do that? Yeah, he can. Because he knows what he's doing. And he's not afraid that, okay, maybe Abraham in this journey that we have record of so many years, did he make mistakes? Sure. Is God afraid of that? Did he go, okay, Abraham, you messed up, you're out? No, he didn't. He remained faithful to his covenant because that's the God that he is. How many sometimes have challenging situations in life and you go, okay, now I'm questioning what God has for me. Does he love me? Am I still going to go down the path that you had for me? I'm not saying that we can't do things that can kind of shift stuff a little bit. I think Abraham did. But he's not leaving us, guys. He's not putting us in the dust and saying, yeah, you're done. He goes, come here. Let's keep going. Get up. Let's get back on the truck. Let's get back on the journey. Let's put the sandals back on our feet and let's go. It's never too late to get back up and keep going. To recognize, hey, we may have made some mistakes. We may have gone a little sideways a time or 30. Get back on. Get your sandals on and walk. And let him direct your path. So when we read all of this, and what I've shared with you, and I really do hope that you guys would spend some time to read this in the next couple weeks or days, whatever, to kind of just go through this and go, how is this relevant to me? Because the reason I shared this story is because while there's certain things in this story of the patriarch Abraham that we see covenant all over in it, right? Because he promised, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that. This is what I am doing with you. And these things will not be removed. Okay, this is going to happen. But the reason that I wanted to share that this morning is because, but you see this huge life story of Abraham. You see the ups, you see the downs, you see the failures, you see the victories, you see the challenges, you see all of these things are part of Abraham's life. That's called relationship. That's called relationship. You see a giant display of a relationship that Abraham had with God, that he's going, this is my purpose for you. And I'm going to walk it out with you. And there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be valleys, and there's going to be highs, and there's going to be lows. But I'm here with you walking out a lifelong relationship that will then become eternal. And all the world will be blessed by your seed. And so we go back to Jeremiah 31:31. And in reading that, I'm going to turn back to it. And so in that passage 31:31 where he says, I'm going to put my ways, my law, my Torah inside. I'm going to make it who you are. I found that heavily moving to me in reading this again. Because I realized that part of the issue is us taking ownership of what He has done. And so the areas that we struggle, the areas that we're challenged in what this is saying, it's like, are we taking ownership of what you have done? Or are we denying what you have done? And so it says that I am opening up the opportunity for all to know Him. And I know there's some argument about this, well, we don't need teachers anymore because that's what that scripture says, but that's not actually what that scripture says. What that scripture says is that to know Him, as in to have relationship with Him, we're not going to be, nobody has to tell everybody. There's this new divine relationship that is intimate. You and Him. That I don't have to go through this, I don't have to go through that, I don't have to go through a priest, I don't have to walk through all these. You are my high priest. I go straight through you. We have a relationship. There's definitely a need for teachers. We have to have teachers. Paul clearly shares that that is one of the gifts that's given, some to teach. Why? To equip us. Because we need equipped, right? We need to understand and have revelation and connection of what happened. What happened here? What went on? I'm told I'm new birth. I'm told I'm renewed. What happened? He opened the door for us to have relationship and to know Him. And that the reality of who He is and His ways dwells among you. It is in you. It is part of you. Do you want to grab a hold of it? Do you want to step deeper into that? Do you want to say, I agree with that. I'm putting you back on the throne. What you said you have done in my life, I agree and want. So, does that mean we got to get figured out today? Does that mean we got to be all perfect? No, what I'm saying is, and what I want to encourage you is, whatever you're facing right now, because I believe most of us are facing a challenge right now. Would you agree that most of us are facing a challenge? Pretty heavy in some of us. Will you put Him on the throne in that? Just that. It doesn't have to be 37 different ones that He's, what about that? What about the one that's pressing you right now? Are you willing to say, you're on the throne? I'm trusting you in this. I'm going to walk this out with you. I want to. I want to engage in this process with you. I want you to teach me. I want you to direct me. I want you to say where I'm right. I want you to say where I'm wrong. I want you to grow me. If I mess up, teach me. Are we willing to take that position in whatever we're facing right now and go, I want to face it real. And I want you to be my truth. I want you to be my guide. I'll be honest, there's a lot of things that I'm working that out in. I'm working that out in me. I don't know anybody who isn't working that out or doesn't have to try and work that out. We all have places in our life where we need to press in, where we need to reestablish who He is and where He stands in our lives. So I just encourage you today. He's with you. Okay? He's not leaving you. He's not going to leave you high and dry. He's a good Father. And He wants greater relationship with every single one of us. He wants increase. But it's going to take us making a decision. Probably multiple decisions. And do we want to do that? Is that our passion? Is that our desire? Is that our want? It's up to us. Thank you. Let's pray. Father, I just thank you for today. I thank you for your goodness, your love. I thank you. I thank you that even though we do make some mistakes here and there. But you're not wound up. You're going to walk this out. You're going to continue as long as we're willing to get back up and go, I'm facing you. You'll walk it out with us. I just ask that you would encourage each one of us today, Father. I ask you would encourage us to take a step, to just go and press into that thing that you're leading us to press into. Take a step forward, and we're going to learn. We're going to grow. We're going to be in that process. Allow us to do that, Father. I just ask that you would do that for us today. Make that thing relevant and encourage us to step in and do what you have for us. Father, we thank you for today. We ask that you would be with each one that's here and those traveling today. And thank you for your Shabbat. Blessed be your holy name. Amen.
Please rise. Yivarecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Ya'er panav elecha v'yihuneka. Isa Adonai panav elecha ve'yisem lecha shalom. Ve'yisem lecha shalom. This is the way you shall be blessed from day to day. He'll be your rest.
May the Lord bless and keep you. May his grace and his face shine upon you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
And give you peace.
And give you peace.
And give you peace. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Hey.
Okay, let's